Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy first Monday of April. If you can't tell, I absolutely love Mondays, especially the first Monday of the month. There's something about, for me at least, setting new goals, putting new intentions down, planning out my not only week, but my month, which is interesting. I saw a meme the other day and it said something about, good thing I bought a 2020 planner, because none of us are really able to plan anything in the last few weeks and what looks like the next, I don't know, probably a couple months, but I live for that kind of stuff. So anyway, happy Monday, happy April. For those of you that weren't on the calls what was it, Friday and Wednesday, this is our third call of the month. Sorry, I was trying to read comments. So yesterday, Kyle and I were talking and we were like, what are we gonna train on tomorrow? What are we gonna train on tomorrow? And I personally, again, going with the planning, wanted to kind of schedule out our trainings for the month. And we both said things and we're basically coming up with the same thing that we wanted to train on, just very kind of different points of view, right? I think you would agree, Kyle, right? I was like, we need to talk about recruiting, and Kyle was like, we need to talk about getting back to the basics. And I'm like, well, that's essentially the same thing. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And as we dive in, I wanted to just kind of go into how I personally recruit. We'll just say that. So recruiting, first of all, starts with your contact list. And we'll talk more about this. I think next week we're going to go over following up, especially in the day and age that we're in right now, the time and period that we're in right now with, so many things changing for people. It's all about timing, right? So those people that you talked to a month ago might not have been interested in a home-based business. Well, now things are different. And now everyone needs the detox and so on and so forth. So anyway, back to where I was going. I know that there's a lot of stigma, I guess is what I should say, with people that work in MLM, especially if you are, and I hate that term recruiting, prospecting, none of it sounds good, right? But it is. It's sharing the opportunity or the products with someone else. And there is a little bit of a stigma that kind of goes along with network marketing and MLM. And we've all seen those messages about, people getting cold messages, and cold messages is usually someone that you don't really know. And they kind of reach out to you like, hey, do you want to join my team? I haven't talked to you since the third grade. I'm good. But where I'm going with this is I have never once, I better knock on wood, ever had someone block me or be taken back, at least that I know of, by the way that I approach them. And I think the reason for this is, one, I don't send out spammy messages, but two, I really go into it with the mindset of serving, not selling. And what I mean by that is, especially right now, if you are reaching out to someone for your own financial gain, for your own join my team, for your own who wants to earn $500 this week, that comes off in a way that people are not receptive to. But if you go into conversations with the mindset of serving them, of, listen, I think I can help you. I don't know if this is something you'd be looking for, but this is where I'm at. Type of feeling, then it's going to be much different. And I think it's going to be more or less receptive on the other end. Maybe it's a fit for them, maybe not. I see Rachel on here. Hi, Rachel. For those of you who don't know, her story is going to be shared tomorrow. She actually, and I hope she's okay that I share this, she was struggling. She was diagnosed with COVID-19, advanced her business to manager elite, I believe, last week. But I was talking to her, and part of her story, and you guys will hear this tomorrow, is she was literally on her knees praying, and a friend of hers, Natalie, reached out to her, right? We don't know what other people are going through. And the only way we can find out is we reach out and we offer them the opportunity. So back to my point, I think if you go into it with the mindset of serving, not selling, and what that means is having a conversation with someone, basically asking them, would you be open to hearing more information, is how I always recruit. And how I do things and how Kyle does things is very, very different. But I wanted to share a story real quick and we'll kind of dive right in. When I was when I had my first son, I was 22 years old. I'm just going to be honest with everyone in here. It was not expected, right? So my husband and I had not been together for a very long time. We had our first son. I was 22. And I remember a conversation I had with my mom. And for those of you that get to know me or know me already, my parents are very, very impactful in my life. And my mom said something to me, and she said, Christy, take your doctor's advice, take your friend's advice that are already parents, and then you do what your gut tells you to do. You do what you feel is best for you and your son, right? Meaning, because I was questioning so many things, like, do I vaccinate, do whatever, all of this stuff, right? As a new mom and 22 years old, I had no idea what I was doing. I take that advice in pretty much anything that I do in life, right? Especially in my business. I take the advice of the leaders that I coach with. Kyle's an amazing leader. He is my sponsor, for those of you who don't know. And I mean, obviously, I always take his advice. But then on the other hand, I listen to leaders and people that coach in network marketing and whatever else, and then I do what feels right. Because at the end of the day, I'm the person that's reaching out to these other people. If it feels spammy, if it doesn't feel like the right time that I should be reaching out to that person, if they just vented on Facebook about, I don't know, something about losing their job or whatever, I just kind of feel it out. And it's hard for me to coach and to help other people with those things because I can't teach anybody to have a conversation and I can't teach anybody when the right time is. So a lot of times people will ask me, well, we've been in a conversation, we've been friends for so long, like, how do I know when I should reach out? Is it a week? Is it a few weeks? And I can't coach on that because you have to feel it out. You have to decide when it's the right time and when it's the right fit for you. Now, on the other hand, there's that fear-based stuff, right? There's that, oh, this person's on my chicken list. I don't necessarily want to reach out to them because I'm scared. And that I don't ever let it get in my way, right? You just kind of have to feel out the conversation and know when it's the right time, especially if you're working through social media. So I just wanted to share that real quick. And as we kind of dive in a little bit more, I'll share a little bit how I recruit, and then Kyle can kind of get into his way because it's very, very different. So the first part of recruiting is having a good contact list. And I think everyone on this call right now should not be outside of their warm market yet. I mean, I think the soonest anyone on here could have got started was August, maybe a little sooner. I think we have some of our OGs, as Trey would call them, on here. But so all of us are still in our warm market. There's no way that you've reached out to all of the people that you know, all the people that know, love, and trust you yet, right? So there's no reason for cold messages or spamming messages just yet. But we've all seen those messages that say stuff like, join my team, I'm looking for a product tester, whatever the stuff is that we get. And those things come off, when I get those messages, in a very wrong kind of feel, right? I never am very receptive to those things. So if you go into conversations with offering people and serving, not selling, meaning, listen, I don't know if this would be a fit for you right now, but I've been partnered with this company, Navan. They're a health and wellness company. Their products are phenomenal. A lot of people could benefit from them right now, especially with our detox product. Don't know if this would be a fit for you, but I do know that you recently got laid off or whatever else. Because again, these are people you know. So you know a little bit of their stories. You know if they're getting laid off. You know if they're having to work from home now. You know if there are parents that had to leave their jobs even if they weren't laid off because they're not board essential, because maybe their kids have to be homeschooled now. There's so many different things. So if you go into it with that mindset, having a good contact list is first and foremost. And then going into each conversation that you have with the fact of, how can I help this person? That's
real quick, Kirsty.
Yes.
I just wanted to jump. You guys, we did a training on how to build a contact list, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. So if you are kind of like, if you're brand new here and you're like, well, what do you mean contact list? Like, don't I have contacts in my phone? Like, there's magic to creating an actual contact list, and it's extremely important that you do so. So go back through the SoundCloud and find that on how to build a contact list. Sorry, Chrissy, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought
thank you.
Give our call a little shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know where I was going with this. I think that was it. But one other thing I wanted to mention is, if you are doing this as a habit and recruiting every day, it's part of what I call my daily 4, which is another training that we did. Another shout out to that. I'm sure we'll do one again eventually. But my daily 4 are the 4 things that I know that I personally have to do every day to grow my business. And I get into this habit where I don't have to think about what I'm going to say to this person, right? I don't have to, because sometimes if you're approaching someone, I know that I've helped some people that are new. Sometimes if you're approaching someone, you can think about it so much, right? And you wonder how you're going to word things and whatever else. And I'm all about a time saver. It takes up a lot of time. So if you're doing these things on a daily basis, it just becomes second nature and it becomes a part of the conversation. I moved my trash can on my desk the other day, and I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the right side of my desk to throw something away when actually it's on the left side now, because I'm so used to doing it. It just becomes second nature, right? It's the same thing with the things that you're doing in your daily activities. So if recruiting is something that you're doing every single day, and I hate to call it even anything because it's just conversations. It's me sharing something that I love with other people that I think could benefit as well. But because I do it so much and I'm in conversation so much, I don't even have to think about what I'm going to say. I don't have to think about the wording that I use. When I first got started in network marketing, I had a script, and I used that script for the first year, and sometimes I still go back to it. But eventually it just became, second nature. It didn't even sound like a script. It sounded like just a conversation where I was approaching someone like, hey, I recently partnered with this health and wellness company, and I would go into a little bit, would you be open to something, to see more information about this? And the way that I do things is when I'm approaching someone, I'm not getting into the conversation right then and there. Usually not, at least. What I'm doing is I'm setting an appointment. When I recruit and when I reach out to other people, for me, and it may be an extra step, and Kyle's probably cringing at this because when you have someone on the phone, I know for Kyle, he wants to talk to them right then and there. But for me, I'm setting an appointment to see if they'd be open to hearing more information. So when I'm reaching out and I'm doing the quote unquote recruiting, I'm reaching out to people, asking them if they'd be open to hearing more info, either in the form of a Zoom or a short video that I have, or maybe getting them on a 3-way call with my upline, who is Kyle. That's what I'm technically doing. And I have my planner out and I'm just scheduling appointments. I'm scheduling times that people have said, yes, they'd be open to hearing more information. Very rarely do I get into the whole thing of what Navan is when I have them right there on the phone, which again, I know is very different from the way that Kyle does things. So Kyle, do you want to kind of share how you recruit?
Well, I can, and it's funny because you keep saying it's very different, but it's very similar. I mean, there's multiple ways that I do what I do, I guess, when it comes to recruiting. So I think a lot of it is very similar, and everything that you're saying is dead on the money. And one thing that you were talking about a second ago, about that nobody on this call should be through their warm market list or anything like that. Guys, I've been doing this 10 and a half years and I haven't even cracked my warm market list. And I'm not saying that I have just this amazing amount of contacts, but I laugh when people say, I'm already through my warm market list, and I'm already out of people. And I'm like, you've been here for 2 weeks. What do you mean you're out of people? Like, I've been doing this almost 10 and a half years and I haven't broken through my warm market list. And guys, and there's a reason for that, right? Like, because I don't just make those spammy calls and those spammy messages. Like, there are people, and Christy, I was going to say working with me for the last 3 years, which I guess is essentially right? We've been working together about 3 years, even when we work cross-line and stuff. She has watched me and heard, or met people, I guess you can say, or heard the stories of when I finally recruit somebody. She's like, why are you so excited? I'm like, because it took me 7 years to get this guy. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, it took me 7 years or 8. I remember the day that my best friend in the entire world, like from my childhood, finally decided to join me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to meet this guy. Like, this has been one of my best friends since I was a little kid. And yet it took him this long to finally join me. And you guys, that doesn't mean every call that I had with him for 7 years was about the business. Every phone call that I make, I hate to say this, but it's the truth, is every phone call I make has intention behind it. Right. And every time I'm reaching out to somebody, and if I just call you and I'm like, hey, Janet, how you been? Like, and we're just talking, whether or not I mention my business or not, I'm recruiting you. I promise I'm recruiting you. There's nuggets and things I will drop that you won't even notice, but that subconsciously making you think like, well, wait a minute, how come this dude's going to the movies at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, like with his kids? Like, it makes them start to think about things. And recruiting is a process, guys. I'm not, I don't have some magic sauce that says, I pick up the phone and I get you on the phone and you're in my business. Now, granted, I'll tell you, over 10 and a half years, I don't even know how many people I have recruited or sponsored into a business. I could care less. I will never take pride in knowing how many people, but I guarantee I've recruited more than 1,000 people, maybe a couple thousand. Who knows? I have no idea. No idea. And nor do I care, right? It does not matter to me. But here's the thing. I've learned how to recruit and then develop people. And that's more important. I've been able to build the teams I've had and be at the top of every compensation plan of every company except for the very first one that I was ever in, right? Like, you guys all know that story. I failed miserably. But after that point, guys, I've been able to get to the top of everything and build successful businesses and build, incredible incomes on a few people and training those people. So I'm not having to, blow through person after person after person after person. And it's allowed me to go through my list slower, but more effectively, if that makes any sense. It's because I take the time to develop somebody to teach them how to do the same exact things. So anyway, into the recruiting side of things, I have multiple ways is where I'm going with this. But, one of the things that I do and I take pride in is that I have had the most success building with acquaintances. Okay. And what I mean by acquaintances are people, obviously, well, the definition of the word, really, but people not necessarily my best friends, not necessarily my family. You know, I say best friends, but you know what I mean, like closer people, like people that I'm with more so than other people. I have been able to build with acquaintances. Um, and what was it? Oh, I was gonna just say, yeah, if you're brand new, you got to go to your closest friends and your family first to get the disappointment out of the way, and then you can start actually building a business. So it's always kind of my little joke there, but it's true, right? Like the ones that are like some of the people that I'm extremely close to, that I you know that I've known for 20, 25 years, maybe longer, they're not in this business. They think I'm crazy, you know. And I mean, who's crazy now? But like it's sometimes it's just the truth. The closest people to us might be some of the most difficult ones. But I will tell you that the number one question I get asked, and have been asked for years and years and years now, is, you know, what do I say to somebody? Right? Like, what do I say? And I talk about this in the Getting Started training. And if you guys don't know, there's a Getting Started training. It's like, I don't know, 10, 12 minutes or something, that I talk about the basics of launching your business. And, you know, my answer is always the same. I cannot tell you like how to speak to your prospects, like how to speak to your friends. These are your friends, they're your acquaintances. You're the one that knows them. That that's the truth, right? You know how to talk to them. I promise you, the way I talk to somebody that I know is totally different than probably how you talk to somebody that you know. Or the way I tailor one conversation to this guy is probably night and day different than how I would talk to the next guy. So everybody's looking for the magic words, you know. Some people are looking for a script, and I am absolutely as against a script as possible. Right? We live in a world that cannot be scripted. People don't want to be sold. People don't want to be pitched. I hope that makes sense. So it's hard for me to tell you what to say to somebody. You know, my general thing when somebody asks me, what do I say to somebody? I will ask them, what got you excited about this business? Like, why are you here? What got you fired up? Then they tell me, right? And then I tell them, then go tell them that. Because the chances are your friends are going to be similar to you, meaning that they're going to like what you like for the most part. That doesn't mean, you know, everything I'm going to tell you guys right now is I guess you could say situational, or for the most part, right? Like it's not always the same, unfortunately. So telling them what got you excited, and that, you know, why you're doing what you're doing, could be the gateway to getting them involved. Right? And you got to think, when you tell them those type things, it's much less of a pitch. It's much less of a hard sell. And I mean, you know, it's far more effective, in my opinion, than telling them about your new opportunity that you'd like to show them, right? Or my new business, or, you know, like that just generally doesn't fly, right? I don't know. Words like opportunity, words like business, things like that, generally seem to make people run for the hills. I mean, you got to get creative, right? This is a trial and error. This is practice. This is, well, it's just, it's going to take time, you know? So sometimes, I don't know, there's multiple different things you can say, but you got to just get creative. But I'm telling you, when you guys share your story and you talk about what got you excited, I believe from my own personal experience and the ones that I've coached and the people that I've taught, that it seems to work a lot better. I mean, you know, because guys, there are also times where I'll have a conversation with somebody, like I'll call up somebody and be like, dude, give me your credit card. You're going into business with me right now. Like you just, and sometimes I use, you know, much harsher words than that. Like there are conversations that you can't script, again, because every conversation is going to be different. You know your people better than I do, so you have to gauge how much and what you're going to say. You got to feel it in your gut. You got to play the conversation by ear. You have to be able to listen to them. You don't just open your mouth like, you know, motor mouth Maybell and just go for it. Like you got to listen. So anyway, you know, and I don't know. Well, I'll get into the second thing, but anyway, so there's multiple ways that we do this, but one of the things that always spawns for me talking about building with acquaintances, and you guys, this is where I've had the majority of my success. Like I could honestly say that 80% of the success I've had over the years has come from acquaintances, people that I'm not in touch with regularly. But I have a good relationship with, and I believe it's because, well, quite frankly, they just don't know you as well. You know, they're more apt to pay attention and listen because they're not in your daily life. And I don't know if that makes sense, but you know, if Dave calls them and they're like, well, you know, what does Dave know? You know, he calls one of his close buddies and they're like, well, what does Dave know about, you know, this type of business? Like Dave owns a pressure washing business, or, you know, they know Dave's past. He worked for this company or that company. Like, what does he know about network marketing? But yet if Dave calls an acquaintance that he hasn't talked to in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, and they don't really know, like they don't necessarily know his history or what happened in that gap of time. And they're more apt to listen and pay attention, which gives him a little bit more credibility when he calls that person. So the question I get when we talk about this is, well, you know, how do you just call somebody out of the blue? So sometimes, you know, you can't just attack, right? So if I called somebody, and let's just say I called John today and I haven't had a conversation in years, right? I'll let the beginning of the conversation play out like normal. Just and when I say play out like normal, guys, I'm not talking we're gonna have a conversation for 30 or 45 minutes and then I'm gonna try and slide in my business. That's the worst thing you can do. And that's a big mistake a lot of people do. You know, they'll have a conversation, they go. And then John's like, well, hey man, I gotta get going. You're like, well, real quick, I wanted to tell you about my business. And my business is called Nirvana, and you like try to shove it in at the end. And now it's too late, right? Like you screwed up. So when I say I let the conversation play out, like if I call John and, you know, hey John, how you been? You know, and it's like, dude, it's been forever, you know, blah blah blah, and it's just some small talk. The magic question that I ask, and it's crucial that I ask it first, is what has been going on in your life? What's new? You know, how's Nicole? Whatever, right? And whatever the case is. So like we have a little bit of small talk, and I'll be like, so what's going on in your life? Like what's new? How's Nicole doing? And then I let him talk. I shut my mouth. I don't say a word. And he talks and talks and talks and talks. He tells me all about it, and I listen and I listen, and I find hot buttons and I find little things that, you know, I could relate my story to. And I do this with every single one of you guys. Every time I listen, you know, on a three-way call, I'm talking to that person, I hear them out and I hear some things, and you'll probably notice me tie things into that conversation. And then here's what ends up happening. Naturally, when he's done, right? And because I asked him first, he will ask me, so what's going on with you, Kyle? What's new in your life? Or what have you been up to these last few years? Now, there's two ways I handle this based upon listening to him. I will either say, funny you asked. I was calling you because I thought about you. This is what I have going on. And I will tell him my story, right? Not exactly word for word. You know, like how you guys hear it on the three-way calls, but I'll tell him the story. You know, well, over the last few years, I mean, depending on how long I've talked to the guy, right? I can't use a script here because maybe I haven't talked to the guy in 15 years and he doesn't know that I was playing drums professionally and all that stuff. So maybe I'll tell him a little bit about that and what I'm doing. It's all, you know, it could go either way, right? So I'll say, funny you asked. That's why I called you. I wanted to talk to you about something going on, and I'll tell him a little bit about my story. Or this is another one of my favorites though, right? This is one of my favorites. I'll be like, dude, so much is happening. You know, and the more you take it away, the more questions they'll ask every time. I promise you. Then, you know, they ask a question, give them an answer, but then take it away again. Change the subject. And I'll play this game for as long as I can. I get so much joy out of playing the, like, drop a hint, let him ask a question, and then change the subject. And then generally he will ask me to tell him about it, right? Because I'll drop enough nuggets. And this is what happens through these conversations over 7 years of recruiting somebody. I'll drop these little nuggets that will make them ask questions. Can I tell you what those nuggets are? No, because they're situational. Everything is situational based on me listening to that person talk. And then, just like Christy, when they were like, well, dude, tell me about this. Guess what? I am now too busy to tell you about what I got going on. So I will schedule an appointment with you. I will schedule a time to get you on the phone because now I'm too busy. And I'm telling you, when you take things away from people, they want it more. Right. So I will schedule it, tell them I'm too busy. And the same thing applies. Like if I run into somebody face to face I haven't seen, right? And they ask how things are going, this and that. I'm too busy to tell them about my business, but I'm more than happy to schedule a time. But I also don't make it, like salesy. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense at all. And, you guys probably hate this call because of the fact I'm telling you, you got to think, right? Like I can't just give you the answers. Sometimes you got to use your brain and listen to these people, so it's I don't know. What I will tell you is this conversation doesn't always work. There's so many times I call somebody with the intent of wanting to tell them about my business, but it just doesn't feel right. So guess what? I don't even mention it. I don't even bring it up. They don't bite on any of the things that I drop, or they don't, I drop these hints when I'm talking to them to bring up the business, and they don't even bite. I just move on. Now, that means when I say move on, guess what? They're going to get a call in a couple of weeks. Why? Because I'm going to find an excuse to call them back. I'm going to find another reason. So there's all sorts of things here. There's all sorts of ways we can take this. And guys, this call is going a little bit longer today, and I apologize. So bear with me. But hopefully this is all making sense. So anyway.
Kyle, I'm going to interrupt just real quick, if that's okay. And then I'll let you get in. I love earlier when you said that, having a conversation and then like, say you were talking to Dave and Dave's like, oh, well, I actually got to go. And you're like, oh, wait, I wanted to tell you about my business. That's the worst thing that you can do, just like you said, because now the person feels like the whole conversation that you just had for 30 minutes was not because you were calling to find out how they were doing, not because you were calling to hear about, Dave's kids or whatever else. It's because you were trying to recruit them. And now you've lost that person ever partnering with you because that trust factor is gone.
Correct.
So, okay. So I just wanted to go over that. And I love too, the fact that you said that sometimes you call somebody and the timing isn't right. And I know that I said that earlier too, like you have to feel things out. Because if you don't, it's not going to be well received on the other end.
You're absolutely right. And it does boil down to gut and feel and things like that. So, with that being said, guys, that was one whole side of how I can recruit people. The other side is the direct way. Like, right, I will call them and be like, hey, do you have a few minutes? Right. I will reach out to people. Like, for example, if I shot Kirsty a text message and I just said, hey, are you free right now? Do you have like 20 minutes? And she's either going to say yes or she's going to say no. And if she says yes, I will call her immediately. Same on Facebook. If I see somebody I want to talk to, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to recruit that person. And I just feel like I'm going to just tell them, I'll shoot them a message, hey, Dave, are you free right now? You got 20 minutes? And if he says yes, boom, I pick up the phone and call him and be like, listen, I got to share something with you. It's pretty important. I don't know if you know what I've been up to, but just 2 weeks ago, we launched this new company. And then I tell them the story.
For those of you that build on social media and that are cringing right now, I promise you I did the same thing when Kyle was teaching me this, but a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? I was like, wait, you call people? I think I have like 30 numbers in my phone. Like I don't call people. I talk to them in Messenger, right? I send voice memos, but I'm telling you it works. And especially now with the way Messenger works, where you can call whoever through Messenger. So you don't even have to have their phone number. If you're talking to a Facebook contact and you're like, hey, do you have a quick minute? You can call them right there. And I promise it's initially, it felt awkward. Like how many of you have looked at your phone and someone called you and you're like, what the heck? And you message them back. Like, did you mean to call me? Cause you don't even answer because it's so out of the norm. Right. But if you're messaging someone and you're like, hey, Kyle, do you have a quick minute? And he's like, well, yeah, sure. I'm getting ready, whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to call you. And I call through Messenger. Now that person's in a conversation and I know they're right there because they said they had a minute. So it's not like they can ignore my call. Right. Sorry, I'll stop.
Exactly. No, you're good. And so guys, I hope you're kind of getting the point. Like this is all situational, but at the same time, we're giving you some ideas in ways. And I know everybody's got their methods and their this and their that. And that's, you got to figure out what way works for you best. And ultimately, I guess this is a great time to kind of segue into the next piece of what I wanted to talk about this morning. So again, I apologize. This call's a little longer, but I hope that you guys don't mind. We talk about the different ways and the different methods, and I wanted to talk a little bit about strategy. and being that this is the first Monday of the month, this is like realistically the beginning of the month. Yeah, we've had a few days, but guys, we have a whole month ahead of us to go build our business. And it's time to really get focused, and it's time to really analyze where we are and what we're doing. And you guys have heard me talk over, I don't know, the last several months on these calls. I'll mention the 4 phases of growth, and we talk about, the most important piece of all of them is getting back to phase 1, which is the create and build phase. And, this is something that Christy and I were talking about yesterday, that we need to really hammer down on and focus on the create and build phase of your business. And it really does start with recruiting, of course, right? Like, we got to be recruiting. Otherwise, what the heck are we doing? But, depending on where you're at, doesn't matter where you're at. Whether you're brand new, whether you've been here for a few months, whether you've been here for a few weeks, whether your business is cranking, whether your business is stalled out. There's a saying that Trey used to tell me all the time, over and over and over and over and over. Well, I used to tell everybody, not just me or whatever, but it was that there's nothing wrong with your business that 5 people won't fix. 5 new people, going back and recruiting 5 new people, taking it back to the beginning, taking it back to the basics, taking it back to when the majority of people have the most success, right? And not everybody, right? And I could give you guys some stories of people that had success a little bit later in their journey with their business. Not everybody has the most success right in the beginning, but the majority of people do. It's when they initially recruit 3, 4, 5 people, get them started in the business. So it's always about going back to the beginning. And, essentially, guys, that statement is dead accurate. There's nothing wrong with your business that 5 new people won't fix. But essentially here at Navan, there's nothing wrong with your business that running the play one time won't fix. You go out and you get 3 new people to join you this month, and you go manager again. I don't care if you're a diamond, right? Go get 3 new people to join you and then help those people become managers. So you run the play. You guys have seen the math. You guys know how much money you can make, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about jumpstarting your business, jumpstarting your month, jumpstarting your week, right? There's a reason all of this circulates around one simple thing, right? Because it jumpstarts everything, and it gets everything moving in the right direction, and it teaches people the right behavior, right? The behavior is what drives the comp plan. The behavior is what grows your team. So one thing I want you guys to understand is that a lesson that I learned early on was that the people that were giving me this information were credible. The people that were giving me this information were the leaders actually succeeding. Why would they give me the wrong information? Why would they give me the wrong tips? I know naturally, some of you might look at some of the stuff I say and be like, no, like there's no chance I would say that. That can't be right. I can do it better. Or why should I listen to Christy? She was a nurse. What does she know about building a business? Or what about, Pam Staples? What does she know about building a business? She's a stay-at-home mom, taking care of kids. She's crunchy. What does she know about growing a network marketing team? Well, she's an emerald. I think she knows something. You might want to take some of her advice. My point here, guys, is that the leadership is giving you the information that is working, growing the businesses, right? Why would anybody give you the wrong information? You guys have heard my story. Some of you, maybe you haven't. There was a point in my life, and I won't get into all the details right now because it's way too long for this, but there was a point where when I got started, I was extremely coachable, and I learned what I just told you. That guy above me only succeeds if I recruit people and if I build a team. It's the only way he makes money. So he's not going to give me the wrong information. So I'm going to listen to him, every word he says, and I'm going to do exactly what he says. And I went 44 straight no's. 44. This is not a joke. And I have that list to this day of the 44 people that I did exactly what he told me to do. Exactly. And I got 44 straight no's. But then the best part about it is the next 5 people I talked to, I signed up doing the exact same thing. I signed up 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49. So legitimately that Jim Rohn saying that even when you're really bad, you'll still get 1 out of 10. The law of average still worked out. It just took me 44 straight no's to get the next 5. And it was because I was coachable and everything he did tell me worked. just like the law of average said it would. I was really bad, right? Jim Rohn says, when you're really bad, you'll still get 1 out of 10. And you get a little bit better, you'll get 2 out of 10. And you get a little bit better, and you get 3 out of 10. I was extremely coachable. And so I want you to take that into consideration, hearing everything that we're saying and listening to these calls week after week, and hopping on different things and events and all sorts of things. Pay attention to the leadership that's giving you the information, if it's real leadership, right? The proof is in the pudding. End of story. The people that are blowing and going and rank advancing and building, like legitimately building teams, you wonder if somebody's building a team. Like, see what's happening, find out, see where they are. I mean, if you have a choice between, getting advice from somebody that's brand new that isn't succeeding, trying to figure out how this thing works, so you have the ability to go to somebody, a ruby or an emerald or a diamond, and get that same, the advice on the same subject, there's a reason somebody's where they're at. Okay. And then here's the thing. You get the people that don't want to listen to this information. So they decide to change it, right? Why would you change what works? Systems are in play. Tools are here. Phone calls, Zooms, trainings. Why change what's already working? It's in place. If it was good enough to get, Christy to where she is at Ruby right now, great. Guess what? And why is she almost Emerald? If it was good enough to get somebody like Pam to Emerald, right? Great. And the stories go on. I mean, I don't know how many rubies we have and how many emeralds we have. There's tons. And if the systems in place were working for that and created by those people, why change what's already there? There's no point. Reinventing the wheel is the worst thing that you can do, the biggest mistake you can ever make in this business. Adding more and more and more and more distractions and all this other nonsense. Guys, less is more in this business, I promise you. The reason we do these calls is so you don't have to, right? Now, if we didn't have any status and any credibility and any success in this industry and had no idea what the hell we were doing, excuse my language, I would get it. Why would I plug into, some dude's call that, has nothing to show for it or has never built a team? Like, I get that. But the reason we do these calls and the reason we do these things and teach you guys this information is so that you can have that success and take out one more distraction away from, one more thing distracting you from actually building your business. The more things you have on your plate and the more things you have on your schedule, the less time you're actually spending building your business, right? So if you have a training system in place 3 days a week, 4 days a week, technically, right? You have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Thursday nights. If you have those 4 trainings in place, why do you need another training, right? If opportunity overviews are happening once from corporate and then multiple times, by other people throughout the week, why do you need to keep doing other, just plug people into those? There's no point in reinventing the wheel. I remember I had a conversation with Brooklyn and Pam, and in the beginning of I had a conversation with Brooklyn in December, and she was asking me about what I do and what I teach and what I train, and she was like, well, can you do another training for our team? And I'm like, on what? And she's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I just did a training last week for your team on the play. She's like, well, what do you teach your other teams? I'm like, the play. And it took her a minute, and she's like, oh my God, I get it. Like, it's just about being something so simple, just one thing. And I said, you're right. Well, then I had a conversation with Pam in January, and she said, what do I do? Like, how do I go from here to there? Like, you are the person that knows how to get there. How do I get there? And I said, well, what are you doing now? And she shows me this list of like this schedule. And I kid you not, there was like 6 or 7 things a day, like 6 days a week. And I'm like, first and foremost, why are you doing all this? Like, this is crazy. Like, the things that are in place for a reason. Like, you need to cut all that and just plug into what's here. Like, there's no reason to be reinventing all this and do this. Like, there's way too much stuff. And she's like, okay, if that's what you're saying to do, she cut all that, boom, guess what happens? Goes Ruby. Guess what happens the next month? Goes Emerald. right? And there's a lot more strategy to that, but ask me if that worked, right? Plugging into the systems and the things in place are what works. Less distraction. And the strategies that we're giving you guys, I promise, are the ones that work. And if you don't know what a strategy is just a specific way to do something and get the same result every time. That's what it is. Here's the biggest problem with getting these strategies. Taking the information that Christy and myself and other leadership gives you, right? Is that you know what to do, but you won't do what you know. You know what to do, but won't do what you know. And we're talking about the beginning of the month. We're talking about launching our businesses, and we're talking about taking it back to the create and build phase. We're talking about the recruiting. So my thing here is, where are you getting the information, and what information are you choosing to use? You need to get a strategy and pay attention to the strategies that are being done by the people that are doing it, not past strategies that don't work anymore. I don't care what you did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it's changed, I promise you. And it probably does not work today. And the way you used to do things doesn't work today. And the scripts you had once back in the day don't work today. If it's not working right now, don't pay attention to it. If it's coming from somebody right now that is not succeeding, probably in your best interest to not pay attention to it. Go to the people that are succeeding. Go to the people and get their information. I promise you, every single actual person that is succeeding through the ranks here and building businesses and making the checks, you know, I guarantee if you grab the top 10 income earners list here and pick up the phone and start calling them, they're going to answer. Some of them, most all of them, maybe not a few, who knows? Point being, they're willing to give you their strategies. And some strategies are this way and some strategies are that way, but they're the strategies that are working. Because here's one thing I know. You get strategies from people that aren't building businesses or that aren't necessarily succeeding. You might, you know, say that they're this or that, or, you know, take that posture of this big leader, but is what they're doing actually pushing them forward? Hard to say. You cannot lead somebody where you have not gone. I promise you, you cannot lead somebody where you have not gone. So go to the people that are going where you want to go, that you're watching them go, and get the information there. They will help you every bit of the way. So when it comes to recruiting, guys, I don't tell you I have the magic. I promise you, I have the least amount of ego involved in my trainings and the things I do than anybody you will ever meet. I promise you that. I will never tell you that what I tell you is going to actually work. But I can tell you what works for me and what has worked for me and what is currently working for me. And I will also tell you what doesn't work for me. And the same goes with Christy. And the same goes with everybody else that I work with, right? They'll tell you what works and what doesn't. You know, you're never going to hear me grab a book and recite to you some information that I've never tried by myself, but because it says so in this book, you know, it's got to be the answer. You know, you'll never hear me regurgitate somebody else's training telling you it's the answer when it hasn't worked for me. I'll tell you, you know what, I heard this training from this guy and he started to try this. Well, I tried it and it failed miserably for me. You can try it if you want, but it did not work for me. Like, you guys, there's never a right or a wrong answer, but I promise you, if you want to know how to keep moving forward and setting your business right in the beginning of the month, go to the people that are blowing and going right now. Go to the people that have thriving teams and ask them, what do I do? Right? Christy came to me and asked me for, you know, what do we do? What's our strategy? How do we move forward? What do we do? And we figured it out. And guess what? Look at our team. It's exploding month after month after month. Pam came to me and said, what do I do? How do I succeed? And I gave her a strategy. And guess what happened? And what's happening? Boom, blowing up, blowing and going. You want a strategy? You want another good strategy? Find somebody by the name of Natalie Odom. Ask her how she went Sapphire in 2 weeks. You guys don't even know her name yet. guess what? She got a pretty good strategy from some credible people that are doing it. Reach out to Natalie, ask her, how'd you go Sapphire in 2 weeks? Help me with the strategy. Promise you she will. Promise you. So I hope this is making sense, guys. And I'm just trying to get your mind in the spot of, okay, is the information I'm getting from where I'm getting it accurate? Am I doing too much? All right, let's look at recruiting from a new perspective, a different perspective. Everybody's going to have a different view on everything. I promise you. So what views do you trust? What views do you move forward from? Or with, I should say, not from. Analyze the source and see if it's where you want to go. And then take Christy's and my advice, or don't. That's fine. It's cool. It's all good.
We'll still be here giving it to you.
Take Pam's advice. I will still be here giving it to you, whether you like it or not.
Use it or you cannot.
So with that being said, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thank you. I hope this call was worth your time this morning. I know we went a lot longer, but I know a lot of us are just sitting at home working on the quarantine 15 anyway. So we might as well be here. I know everybody's laughing at that. Tomorrow night, got an opportunity overview I will be doing, I think. We have a lot of good stuff. Chrissy, any other announcements?
Yeah, so tonight is not an opportunity call, and I hope everyone kind of caught that information.
Correct.
Do you want to give it a little, I mean, I think I got the understanding. It's going to be a first of the month type of thing.
Yeah, from oh boy. Oh, there we go. I turned off my screen. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. So guys, tonight is going to be an update call from corporate. It's something that we plan on doing monthly now, like a corporate monthly call in the beginning of the month. I think our goal is maybe to do the first Monday of every month type thing. Not necessarily always going to be that way. So don't hold me to it. Don't get all mad and crazy cat lady on me if it's next month, it's on a Tuesday. But the point is, it's going to be like an update call. You know, maybe some rank advancements and some exciting news and things that we're keeping you on the know, right? Of what's happening at corporate and what's happening within our business and what's happening within our company. So that will be tonight. There is not a corporate overview tonight. So take your prospects from there and plug them into tomorrow's overview with me.
There is a Facebook group that I started called Meet Navon. For those of you that wanted to go and see that, I know that I shared it with a lot of people in the field. It's going to have some stories of some leaders in the company. This is not we're not going to talk about products or comp plan or anything else like that, but it is, I just wanted to open it up for everyone. Jerry, I think Jerry's on here. Jerry, you on here? Anyway, I can't see her. One of my business partners, Jerry Pester and I, she is on here. Hi, Jerry. Came up with this idea. I think it's going to be really great because stories are, you guys know I love stories, right? Which is why I highlight so many of us on the corporate pages or whatnot, but it's going to have a lot of just, I think, Kyle, you're going to go live in there tonight, maybe? Am I putting that out there so now you kind of have to? And Pam Staples is going to go later this week.
Yeah.
We're going to share some stories. And the whole reason for this is if you've talked to someone and you've already been in the conversation or whatnot, and you want to share someone's story with them, again, it's just going to be how these people came about. So I went in there live last week. If you know a nurse, go in there and tag her in my story. See if we connect. I am someone, and I don't know if everyone, I know Kyle too, but even if you're not on my team, if you have someone that you think would resonate with my story, or you want me to help you talk to them about what it is that brought me here to Navon and, like NurseWise or whatever, I don't know. I am more than happy to talk to people. So by all means, you can still reach out. So tonight's corporate call is going to be, like Kyle mentioned, it's not an opportunity video for you to invite people to. This is actually, please everyone log in. I heard there's going to be exciting announcements and things like that Facebook page, and there was something else, but I can't think now. One more thing that I want to say, and I see numbers dropping, so you guys are leaving. Kyle mentioned earlier that we have the tools that we need, right? If you are someone that is with your team trying to create trainings and all of that, we really have the information. But if you feel like your team needs something specifically that Kyle and I aren't training on, reach out to us, right? I am more than happy. In fact, we were talking yesterday that there's many leaders in this company and my team and other teams and whatnot that we're going to start asking to come on here and start training a little bit. So be looking out for that. But if you feel like you need something or your team needs something, by all means, let us know, right? Because
please, shoot us topics you guys want trainings on, and I'm serious. Nothing is crazy. I don't care what it is. Just send us the information, because we will get to it, right? We have a list and we'll put together, you know, what we want to be talking about in training. We said that next week we plan on talking about following up, right? But that could change. You guys might send us some great ideas and we're like, oh yeah, no, following up can wait. Like,
if you want
wanna
training on how to do 7 things a day, like Pam had before Kyle talked to her about getting rid of that list, we might advise you otherwise. But if you have topics that you think that your team needs, by all means, yeah, we are happy, because I mean, again, like Kyle and I have been mentioning, like what we do isn't always, this is how what works for us, right? And that's all I'll ever share is this is what works for me. I'm not anyone's boss. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but anyway, so that is it. Anything else, Kyle?
I was just reading a question. Someone said, can you succeed without doing videos? And I'm not exactly sure what you meant by that. I didn't catch you drop that question. So I don't really know. But yeah, without doing videos, I'm not sure if you mean like lives and stuff like that. And if that's what you're going towards, if you're talking about like, you know, lives, then yeah, absolutely you can. Ask me how often I go live. It's just, yeah, you absolutely can. If you want to reach out to me,
Not showing my face ever.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely you can. You know, it's all about your comfort. I mean, yeah, we all use Zoom and things like that today, but you don't have to. I mean, by any means, like just having conversations. The biggest way you'll succeed is using your voice. I promise you that. Texting and things like that make it tough. It's you guys all know, we all are victims of reading text messages wrong or interpreting things wrong. You can't necessarily get the feel through text. So the biggest thing I can tell you, it doesn't have to be your face to face.
Kyle? I'm like, are you being pissy right now? Maybe that wasn't.
Yeah, you did. You thought I was. I'm like, no, not at all. My God. You know, it was just.
I read his text wrong. Yeah.
You read my text wrong, and so it's really easy to do, but you don't have to show your face, not at all. But I promise you guys, voice conversations will change your game. Will change the whole game. Whether that's just voice notes in Messenger or this or that, it doesn't matter. But I will tell you, a phone call is much stronger, or a actual conversation with somebody is much stronger than texting. So, all right, love you guys. Thank you, Christy. That's it.
Okay. Yes, Carol. Someone just asked if this will be on the SoundCloud. All of the morning trainings that we do are uploaded. Kyle does that. I don't even have access to that, but yeah. So I send it to Kyle, and Kyle uploads it on the SoundCloud. All of them. Even, I mean, every Friday when we do the compensation plan, obviously the information's always the same, usually the same, but they're all uploaded. So everything's in SoundCloud and always will be.
I just got another good question. I'm going to answer it. Gary just asked if you have to be active in social media to succeed in this business. And I'm going to tell you no, absolutely no. Gary, I am the least active in social media person you will ever meet. And yes, I have social media and things like that, but I do not use them to build my business. If anything, social media to me is a giant contact list. You know, I follow up and I pay attention to what people are saying and doing as ammo to use when I recruit people. I know that sounds crazy, but it's just a giant contact list for me. Like, I don't post my business. I don't really talk about anything. Occasionally I will, but it has nothing to do with the success I have in my businesses from social media. So no, you do not have to be active in social media. So, all right. Thank you guys. This will be up in SoundCloud probably within the next 20 minutes at the absolute most. Love you guys. Have an amazing, amazing Monday. I'll see you guys on the call tonight. Let's go dominate this month. And remember, there's nothing wrong with your business that running the play one more time won't fix. Keep it simple, guys. Love you.